Welcome back everyone to another Weather at a Glance video. In today's forecast, we're going over our total snowfall forecast for the snowfall season of 2023. All coming up in just a bit. All right, now looking on our first slide, we are looking at the snowfall anomaly. This was from our most recent winter forecast, our third preliminary winter forecast that we recently uploaded. And this is our snowfall anomaly forecast map that will be showing you basically what you can expect to see in regards to your snowfall. Now, whether it's going to be above average or below average. So starting off here in the region in the Pacific Northwest and much of the northern United States, we see this lighter gray region. This is going to be indicated by that slightly below average condition of snowfall. So basically, we see a lot of warmer and drier conditions for much of these areas, and that's really going to hinder a lot of the snowfall that we will likely expect for this winter season. So typically what you'd expect in the winter season for a lot of these areas is a lot of snowfall. You're still going to see a lot of snowfall, but this is likely going to be a slightly decreased value of what you would typically see with a season. Now, moving on to our next two regions, we have the below average regions here, one for the northern Rocky Mountains and one here for the portions of Seattle and Portland, Oregon over here. So we see those two cities there that typically do see a fairly good bit of snowfall around the peaks of their mountains up above the city. So you can see anywhere around those cities, we see a lot of mountainous regions and they get a lot of snowfall. And we are likely going to see a decrease in that this season. So we are still going to see a lot of snowfall. Again, these areas see a substantial amount of snowfall every season. It is still going to see a lot, but we may see 5 to 10 inches below average of what we would typically see. That's just a rough estimate, but that's typically going to show you what we mean by below average. We expect a good amount below average, but obviously for a place that sees about 100 or plus inches or so of snowfall, we're likely going to not notice that too substantially. Now, moving on over here to the East Coast and the Mid-Atlantic, we're starting up here south of Boston and moving our way down through much of the Mid-Atlantic over here. And you can see we are expecting slightly above average snowfall. Now, much like the slightly below average, we aren't really going to notice too much of a change. You're not going to walk outside and be like, wow, it's always snowing. This is crazy amounts of snowfall. But you will likely notice if you check online or maybe see your total annual snowfall for this year. After this does happen, you will likely notice slightly increased values, maybe 1 to 2 inches above average. So this is generally giving you some slightly increased snowfall, nothing too substantial, but definitely something to look forward to if you are a snowfall lover. Now, for the winter weather enthusiasts and the snowfall lovers, this is a region that you do want to be in if you do like snowfall. So anywhere south of New York City, for much of the Mid-Atlantic, we do see above average conditions. Now, much like the below, this is where you're going to see changes in your weather. So you're likely going to walk outside and think, wow, we've had a lot more snowfall lately. That's likely what you can expect to see this season, and you can see how that's likely going to affect your snowfall totals moving forward on the next slide. All right, now on this slide, this is our total snowfall forecast map. This is our idea of what you can expect to see for your snowfall totals this season as a whole. So starting off, we're going to work our way from the lowest to the largest regions. Here first, we have our light blue region here, and this is going to be your 1 to 2 inch region. So we're starting off around the Outer Banks, moving our way down south over here around Texas. For much of Texas, actually, we do see 1 to 2 inches. So that doesn't mean you're going to see snowfall, but if you do see snowfall, it is likely going to be around the 1 to 2 inch range. So here you can see a lot of these areas for the southern portions of New Mexico and much of the deep south, we do see expecting 1 to 2 inches. For much of the West Coast as well, anywhere north or east of San Francisco, we are expecting 1 to 2 inches up along the foothills of those mountains and around Los Angeles as well. Up in those foothills, we do expect 1 to 2 inches. Now on to our next region here, we are expecting 2 to 4 inches. So this is starting off anywhere north of the Albemarle Sound in North Carolina. And we do see just north of Atlanta, Georgia, south of Charlotte, North Carolina. And we do see, this is kind of a very thin stretch here just south of the Smokies, but we do see Memphis, Tennessee included in this as well. And then this moves out westward around Arizona and all that, just north of Phoenix. We do see 2 to 4 inches expected for these areas. So if you do live anywhere kind of north of Phoenix or anywhere in the central part of Arizona, you can likely expect 2 to 4 inches. And then we do see Las Vegas, Nevada included in that as well. Up here for Portland, Oregon, we do see that as well, 2 to 4 inches. And around Seattle as well, we do expect 2 to 4 inches. Now, on our next region, we have 4 to 8 inches. So this is around Virginia Beach, moving through Charlotte, North Carolina, just south of the Smokies, north of Memphis, Tennessee. We see Oklahoma City included there, and we see this large portion of the Great Plains and the southern portions of the Ohio Valley. We do see Nashville, Tennessee included in this as well. So basically giving you an idea of 4 to 8 inches for your total yearly snowfall. We see a lot of the west out here along the foothills and a very skinny stretch along the mountains. We do see 4 to 8 inches along the west coast there for the mountainous regions. And we do see some pockets here up in the mountains as well that could expect those 4 to 8 inch totals. Our next region starts north of Virginia Beach, and we make our way just north of Charlotte, North Carolina. No cities included in this so far, but we do see anywhere west of Salt Lake City. We see much of these areas in the dark blue are included in this 8 to 12 inch region. So anywhere from 8 inches up to a foot of snow are expected for these areas. These include a lot of the desert valleys, but in between the mountains, anywhere from the Sierra Nevadas and the Rockies. That's kind of where we're seeing a lot of these areas, these higher elevation areas that do see a little bit of moisture and precipitation during the winter. We will likely see these 8 to 12 inch amounts up here for these areas. Now, moving out of the blues and into the pinks, we're starting off at anywhere from a foot to 2 feet. This includes just south of Delaware. We do see a lot of these areas in the mid-Atlantic could be seeing some more substantial snowfall this year. Again, this is spread out over the course of the winter, so we aren't really expecting a chance for a foot at once, so we're not rolling that out with some of these larger systems. But I do believe that especially the further south you go, this is going to be spread out over the course of the year. But we see Kansas City, St. Louis, just south of Indianapolis. We see just south of Albuquerque along the thin stretch of these mountains here and over around the Rockies, we do see that 12 to 24 inch region there of snowfall. So that's going to be quite a substantial amount for those of you who live in certain areas of this region. Now, on the next level up, we're looking at 24 to 36 inches. This includes portions of Delaware all the way around the Smoky Mountains, and we do see up here into the Ohio Valley here, over here in the southeastern Ohio. This includes Indianapolis, and we do see over here for much of New Mexico, we do see all in this pink, and this includes Albuquerque, New Mexico, much of the mountains up in Arizona, and we do see a lot of these areas in this pink included in the 24 to 36 inch amount. So that's a lot of snowfall, but for some of these mountainous regions, that is slightly below average for this time of year. Not really what we're expecting so far, but we do see that we could see some fairly average to lower amounts of snowfall depending on where you are. But we do see a lot of areas included in this 24 to 36 inch area here. All right, in our next region, we are looking at 36 to 48 inches. This includes Delaware and down around the Smoky Mountains. We see this also includes Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, over here into Indianapolis. And then we see a lot of these areas up in Nebraska. We see the chance for 24 to 36 inches of snowfall. We also see down here for Albuquerque, New Mexico, and just around those mountains here, we see a lot of areas included in this 24 to 36 inch region. Up here for the mountains and all around altogether into Arizona, we do see some of those areas seeing 24 to 36 inches as your expected value. All right, on our next area of snowfall, we are in the 36 to 48 inch region here, and this includes Delaware as well, but we also move down and around the Smokies again, a little east of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and we move up here into northern Illinois, and much of the Great Lakes here are included in this 36 to 48 inch region here. A very large portion of the Midwest is included in this as well. We see Detroit is included in that, and Chicago, Illinois. So a lot of these areas are expecting some pretty substantial snowfall. Now, again, all of this is usually typical for this time of year, so this isn't going to be all at once. This is likely going to be spread out into some larger events that we could see. But overall, we're not going to see a lot of snowfall in short periods. We're likely going to see some big winter storms move through, but over sparse occasions. We also see out here for much of the mountains in Arizona, some of these mountain peaks over here, as well as over into Nevada, we see 36 to 48 inches being possible for you guys out here. Now, moving on to the red region here, we're looking south of New York City. This is starting off at 48 to 60 inches. So this includes just south of Washington, D.C., and we see just east of Pittsburgh up in the Appalachian Mountains there. Much of New England and the Northeast there we do see are included in these more substantial amounts. We do see over here in the Michigan and over here just east of Chicago, and this includes Minneapolis. So a large portion of the northern United States are in this 48 to 60 inch region. Now, do keep in mind that this, for some areas, is again going to be slightly below average, especially as we get further north here to the northern United States. That is going to be slightly below average than what you would typically see, especially during La Nina years when we see that big snowfall come through. But we are still going to see a lot of snowfall. Obviously, 48 to 60 inches is a lot depending on where you live, but this is likely going to be slightly below average for some of these northern areas here. Moving on to the other shade of red, we have 60 to 72 inches. This includes Boston, New York City, and Washington, D.C. So we see for some of these areas, Washington, D.C. is not really typically going to see that amount of snowfall. And again, this year, it may be difficult because Washington, D.C. is more at a geographic disadvantage. So we may not see 60 to 72 inches, although it is included in that region. We may see a kind of shift around Washington, D.C., but that is generally giving you an idea of what you can expect with some of these larger systems that move through that area. And a lot of snowfall could fall in these areas. We also see this 60 to 72 inches for just south of Buffalo and much of the Great Lakes where we see that lake effect snow, as well as for a thin stretch around these lake effect portions here in Michigan and over here into the Upper Peninsula. All right, now on our final region here, we see a lot of areas are included in this, especially out west, but we do see out here in the east, we have a 72-inch plus region for much of the Appalachian Mountains. I do believe mixed with the cold air and a lot of the moisture that comes through here, as well as the large storms, we will likely see substantial snowfall and above average snowfall for these areas. So that's a lot of snowfall. We also see here for Buffalo, New York, and anywhere around these areas, 72 inches plus. That's fairly typical for lake effect. And even though we are expecting some shifts in the patterns here for our weather, I do expect that lake effect snow will still be a pretty substantial source for your snowfall this season. Up here for the Upper Peninsula and the northern portions of Michigan here, we do see 72 inches plus in this white region here. So a lot of snowfall for you guys as well. And then, of course, out here in the Rocky Mountains, anywhere including Denver and some portions of the Great Plains here to the western side here, just at the foothills of the mountains, we do see 72 inches of snowfall plus. And this includes Salt Lake City, over here for much of the west, and then we move out westward over here to the Sierra Nevada mountains over along the west coast. So you see a lot of these areas are included in that 72 inches plus. This is still going to be a good year for skiing because I had some people's concerns about skiing and overall just winter sports. There's still going to be a lot of good snowfall out here for the west for winter sports, although we do see increased snowfall potential for the eastern United States. All right, I want to thank you all so much for watching today's video. If you did enjoy this video, I would ask you consider subscribing for more of these forecasts free of charge, and I would ask you consider following the Weather at a Glance official Facebook page for more inside information and complimentary personal forecasts when you message me on my Facebook page. Again, I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.